It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas everywhere you go.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Ho Ho Oh, our Project Potter holiday special, guys. My name is Kyle, your host. If you haven't been here before, guys, welcome to the channel. This is 25 straight days of Christmas content, 25 straight Christmas reviews. Guys, tonight we're here for night 6, which is How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Now, there's a couple different Grinches, guys, or a couple different Grinch productions, I should say. This is specifically the 2000 Jim Carrey movie. Might I say, guys, Jim Carrey's this movie, if you know what I'm saying. If you haven't been to the channel before, guys, this is kind of my favorite thoughts or my favorite scenes. A score out of 10, guys. A favorite character, at least favorite character, and not in that order. And then a Ho Ho Oh rankings, which is kind of all these movies, all these specials together ranked out. So, guys, there's a lot to say about this movie. This is a live action Grinch, of course. I thought about doing the original How the Grinch Stole Christmas, but I've seen that many times and it's a classic. But this is the 2000 film, and Jim Carrey as the Grinch. Man, I want to shout out the makeup team. It's unbelievable. Like, the makeup team in Jim Carrey's Grinch outfit looks so good. There's, all these different things that are going into it, but the way he moves, the way he talks, it's just amazing. I thought certain parts of this movie were lacking. There's obviously Max, who's kind of like the Grinch's conscience throughout this whole movie. There's the Who's that are I'd say hit or miss a little bit, but it kind of captures that spirit, how they're all like happy-go-lucky. And I thought the environment was good, where it shows like the Grinch's towering like mountain. And I like how we got into the backstory of the Grinch, where we got to find out like, okay, how did the Grinch come in? Oh, well, it wasn't like a stork. It was like the Grinch comes in on like a little basket with a little parachute or like a little umbrella, and that's how all the babies come in. And it's like, okay, it's whimsical, it's fantasy, it's different. And so I like that portion of it. There's a funny scene where he's like, "Oh, how was the Grinch born?" And he's like, "Oh, well, how all who's are born or whatever." And so the one of the babies comes down, and the guy's like, "Honey, our baby's here." And he's like, "Looks a lot like your boss." And I was like, "Oh, nice little adult humor there." But the Grinch comes down, and so I like it because it shows that the Grinch is a who, I think. And so we don't really know who his real parents are, or why he's green or why he's different. But I wish they would have delved into that a little bit more. But he comes down, they take care of him, he goes to school, and there's a really funny scene where baby Grinch is sitting there and he's like, "Oh, here, like, here's the cookies." And he's like, "Santa." And they're like, "Yeah, that is Santa." And then he's like, he eats it, eats part of the plate, and he goes, "Santa, bye bye." It's just really funny, and you can tell that Jim Carrey's mannerisms really like shine through in this Grinch. And I don't think any other character could have played Grinch in this movie and made it work as well as it did. So with all that being said, guys, there are some missing pieces here. They do go into the fact that, like, oh, why does the Grinch hate Christmas? What's going on? Because, they give his origin, and he comes down and he's just like all the other kids, and he goes to school and he's a little bit different, obviously, physically, but also just, emotionally, as Jim Carrey says, or as the Grinch says in this one, he's like, "I'm a psycho." And it's funny because we're like, how did the Grinch be the way he is? There's this whole big thing where there's this a girl in the class who's into him. I think her name is Norma. If not, I'll correct it here, guys. But she goes up to like have the awesome like light gun where she's like, "Oh, check out these lights." And when she's like, "Oh, this is brand new," and she takes out the thing, she has like a light gun and shoots it. It's awesome. It's super over the top, and I really like that part. And she's like just in love with the Grinch. And we don't really know why, but she just kind of has a fascination with the Grinch from the start. And so he puts together an ornament for her, or like a gift, and it's really sweet. But they say, oh, one of the kids says, you don't have a chance with her. You're 8 years old and you have a beard. And he's like, oh no. And so he goes to shave, but he obviously doesn't know how to shave, being an 8 year old. And so he like hacks it up, and then he goes into class wearing the bag, and they're like, "Oh, take off the bag off your hat." And then they're like, "Look at that hack job," and they're all laughing at him, and that's kind of what makes him be like, "I hate Christmas." And he throws the present, and then he picks up the tree, and we don't know why the Grinch has super strength. Does he have super soldier serum? I don't know. It's never explained why he has like super strength, and so I wish we could have at least had an explanation for that. But because even the girl is like, "Oh, and the muscles," and I'm like, "Where do those muscles come from?" He runs off and runs over to the mountain and then stays there. Where does the Grinch get groceries? Where did he get Max from? He didn't have Max at the time. So it's like, did the Grinch go like into town to get Max? How does he get food? What's going on there? Where did he get his recliner from? Which is a nice recliner. there's so many questions in this Grinch universe and this Who universe that I have, Yeah, Jim Carrey, man, he just steals the show. He's so good. And again, the makeup is phenomenal. It's a 2000 film, but like I couldn't believe how good it looked. And he just you can still see Jim Carrey and his faces and his obviously his all of his mannerisms there, and he's like got a little bit of like Ace Ventura in there. I think you either love or you hate Jim Carrey. I don't really understand if you don't like Jim Carrey because I think he's hilarious and just he's so good with physical comedy, not a word, physical comedy and prop comedy. And I just think it's like, how could you not laugh at his different, things that he does, and he's so goofy and he really brings the character to life. And so obviously we also get Cindy Lou Who, and she kind of like is like, oh, I'm not afraid of the Grinch, and she goes up, but we didn't get enough into her character. She was just kind of like typical, like, okay, this is Cindy Lou Who, and we all know Cindy Lou Who from either the original or like, the lore, I guess. But like her parents didn't really watch over her and they kind of just let her wander off, and she climbs a whole mountain by herself, and it's like some of it was a stretch, guys, but obviously it's like a fantasy world, so I don't want to get too like hard on the certain details. But yeah, I think a really fun movie overall. I think the effects were really cool. But something with this movie that I've noticed with a lot of the specials I've done so far, the runtime little too long. I don't know if that's just me. Maybe I'm just too picky, guys. Maybe I'm looking for something that's like perfect, but it's like an hour and 45, I think. And I'm like, again, guys, for most of these movies, these specials, I feel like it could have been maybe 20, 25 minutes shorter. And that's not to say that I didn't enjoy all of Carrie's antics. That's not to say that I didn't enjoy the movie. I didn't think it was fun. I thought the Who's were great. This movie is really self-aware, which I give it a lot of credit for because they know how goofy it is and they like really lean into that. And they're like, and wait, there's a brand new car. And I'm like, okay, that's good because, it's not taking itself too seriously. So I really like that it plays into that factor, but I wish it was maybe 25 or 30 minutes shorter. And again, maybe that's just me. Maybe that's just how I prefer these things to be like closer to like maybe an hour and 15 or 20 instead of an hour and 40 or 45. But overall, guys, a good time. And I enjoyed my time watching this movie. Okay, guys, that brings us to the best character. Guys, it's Jim Carrey's this movie. Jim Carrey's this movie, because he plays the Grinch. I don't think anyone else could have played a live action Grinch. When you think of the Grinch, this character comes to mind for the live action version. I love how he's just so goofy and crazy, and he's got that giant monkey. Why does he have a giant monkey in his house? Where did he get that? Where did he buy that from? Did he make it? I don't know, but that's really great. And he's like, trying to drown out the noise of the Who's on like Christmas Eve, and he like puts his head in there, and the monkey's hitting it over and over, and that's when Cindy Lou Who shows up, and it's like, why does the Grinch have a small little like hobbit door in there for Cindy to get in? Did he build that when he was like a baby? Is he a super genius? I don't know. Again, guys, more questions than answers, but it's okay. We kind of like it. He's like, welcome to the Grinch's lair, and it's like a bat cave basically. And I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. But he's been living there obviously for years and years. Yeah, guys, Jim Carrey is awesome. He was so much fun. He's so goofy and he's just really funny. And there's like, this movie's been memed to hell already, where there's like, he's going through the things and he's like, well, if I can't wear something, he's like, that's it, I'm not going. And possibly murders that guy who's like got like yodeling up front. He's like looking for an outfit and this guy's yodeling, and then he just like takes a cane and then he just like disposes of the body. And we're like, is anyone gonna question what happened? Is the Grinch a murderer? Like, what's going on? And he's always kind of been like a kind of narcissistic and maniacal, but we see the reason for that. But my question is, guys, where is the Grinch's support system? He has one bad day at school and he runs away. Where were his parents? Where were the rest of the kids? How come none of the other kids were reaching out to him? This isn't like middle school where like the kids are mean and bullying, but like there should have been like an adult, a teacher, someone that's reaching out to prevent the Grinch from running away to a mountain and being a villain. But nonetheless, guys, the Grinch was always a little bit different, but I just love how Jim Carrey is just fully embraces the character. And really, I don't think this could have worked with anyone else. I don't think it would have been as good as it was. So hats off to Jim Carrey for just crushing this role as the Grinch. Okay, guys, the worst character for me, this is got to be the mayor. I think it's the mayor. He's the one that gets his head shaved. Power move by the Grinch there, where he's like, first of all, dude, real quick, we'll talk about how they finally invite the Grinch down. Cindy Lou Who convinces him to go. He finally is like, oh, I'm not going. And then he finally finds like his kilt or whatever from the yodeler that he murdered, presumably. And so he comes down, he goes through like his little dumpster thing, and really cool how the Grinch like built like an underground intricate system that takes them down from the Whoville to also goes upwards, which doesn't even make sense. But that's really cool, and Cindy has a good time going through that. He goes down, and the mayor, he has a great time. They give him a Christmas sweater. He's like playing in all the games. He wins the prizes, and he's like, "Oh, this is great!" And it's like the Grinch is finally accepted. And then the mayor goes, "And here's your prize." And he goes, "Ah, look at this." And then he gives him a fucking razor, dude. And I'm like, why would you do that to someone who probably who has super strength, probably is about to snap? You know he's gonna snap. So they're this whole thing is like an elaborate prank, and they're all laughing, and then it brings him back to his childhood. And he's like, you know what? I'm gonna burn your tree down. And he's like, I'm gonna steal all of your presents. He's like, guess what? Grinch is like, you just fucked up because I'm gonna now ruin your whole Christmas. And he like gets into everyone's houses later and stuff. But the mayor, like everything was good and they could have just accepted the Grinch, and they're like, wow, the Grinch actually isn't so bad. He finally came down and he's kind of a fun guy. And instead the mayor's like, actually, I'm gonna take your childhood trauma, I'm gonna bring it right back up. Hey, remember that time we all laughed as 8-year-olds? Hey, guess what, dude? Here's that razor. And it's like, dude, what are you doing, mayor? He deserves to get that little razor through the head. And the Grinch is like, yeah, dude, you know what? Take this razor right in your face. But then his hair like grows back later to some extent. I was like, it's been not even 24 hours, dude. But yeah, the mayor I thought was the weakest part. I mean, his bed gets tied up eventually and he's brought out to the square and he's like, you know what, guys? This is what happens. You invite the Grinch and he ruins Christmas. And I'm like, nah, dude. You invited the Grinch and then you set him up for failure. You publicly embarrassed the Grinch. Like, what did you think was gonna happen? So you got what you deserved, dude. And the mayor, if anything, ruined Christmas. And so he's in love with this woman who's in love with the Grinch, and he doesn't know that, she clearly has her eyes on someone else. The funny scene where Jim Carrey is the Grinch is like, he's like, me? The mayor kind of sucks, and he's not really self-aware. So he's my worst character for this one. Okay, guys, that brings us to a score. This is an 8-2 for me. I had a good time with this. It's not anything unbelievable. Like I mentioned, guys, the runtime is a little bit long, but I wrestled with this score for a little bit. I went probably as low as like a 7.3 and as high as maybe like an 8.6. And I think this score kind of fits somewhere right in the middle there. But Jim Carrey's performance is so good that I didn't really feel comfortable putting this lower than like a 7.8 at the lowest, because anything less than that just felt like a disgrace to Christmas, right? And I didn't want to do that. And I really liked that they dug into the Grinch's backstory, and that's something we hadn't seen yet. And we didn't really know why the Grinch was the way he was. And I don't think the original really explains that, or if it does, I don't remember it. This is something I'm going to remember, and this is relatable. And it's like the Grinch went into school and he gets bullied, and then, everyone laughs at him. And then he's like, you know what? I hate Christmas. I'm going to just run away from everyone. And I feel like the older I get, the more relatable the Grinch is, where he's like, I hate everyone. He's like, loathe. He's like, I hate you. And he's like on the mountain, and then he's like, hate, double hate. And he's like, extremely loathe. And it's just, he's so good. And I love Jim Carrey. So I personally was looking forward to this movie, and it was really good. And the effects were good. And, it's again, a little too long, but honestly, it's a good time. And I didn't feel comfortable putting this movie in the sevens, because I think it is really good, and I think I could rewatch it anytime. So despite some of its flaws, I think this is a really fun movie, a really strong movie. The makeup team, once again, guys, just unbelievable. I could not believe how good that looked between the legs and, the hair. And I just love how the Grinch like goes through, and he's got like a zip line like Batman into a recliner. And then he's like, oh, let me check my schedule. And he's like self-loathing. He's like, I can't be able to make it. And he's like questioning everything I've done or whatever. And it's like, it's really funny. And I just think it's a fun movie. And again, hats off to Jim Carrey, because he just crushes it. And really, Jim Carrey's the movie, really running this joke into the ground. But you know what, guys? It's Christmas, so lighten up, will you? Okay, guys, that brings us to the Ho Ho Oh rankings. And guys, I got my phone here because we already have too many movies for me to remember. But what I realized is that I wasn't putting up the scores next to the rankings, so we'll do that here, guys. So far, guys, through 5 movies, we have number 1, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer at a 9.8. Number 2, Bad Santa at a 9.7. Number 3, Just Friends at an 8.3. Number 4, The Polar Express at a 6.1. And number 5, A Charlie Brown Christmas at a 5.7. So, guys, looking at this one is going to go slot in at number 4, just behind Just Friends, guys. So we have number 1, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer at 9.8. Number 2, Bad Santa at 9.7. Number 3, Just Friends at 8.3. And this one slides in there, guys, at number 4, right ahead of Polar Express and Charlie Brown for our Ho Ho Oh rankings at this point. Okay, guys, well, that's another episode of Ho Ho Oh. 6 movies in now, guys. So I guess we got 19 more to go. I was gonna say, I almost thought I was saying we're we're over the halfway point, but that doesn't make any sense because we're definitely not. But we keep chugging on, guys. Every night, Christmas content, Christmas reviews. Appreciate you guys checking out the channel. Thanks for checking out Project Potter. Leaned the wrong way, so kind of killed that. Like, comment, subscribe. If you did like it, let me know in the comments what you guys thought about this. Do you like this movie? Do you love this movie? Do you hate this movie? Let me know, guys. But either way, appreciate you. Until next time, guys. Santa, bye-bye.